Words cannot describe the level of irritation and frustration I'm coming at this video with today. Samsung is one of those brands that typically have a pretty decent picture when you adjust it certain ways, right? Now, there's no secret the Samsung S95B in front of me is one of the best TVs ever made. However, I had a 1082 firmware to which auto updating occurred and put it on the latest firmware. Now, the relevancy of this is even when you have auto updates turned off, it will still go out of its way to update against your permission and against your will, forcing you to do something that you never would have done or otherwise would not have chosen for yourself, making Samsung basically the grand authority over your product that you paid for. This is one of the things that I cannot stand about products more than anything else. Now, you would think if they're going to take grand authority and force a firmware on you, well, surely this would be an amazing firmware that would change all of the issues that you had. Wrong. What it does instead is go in and decide that, you know what, we're going to change certain parameters that aren't good for you, like the brightness, for example. That's not anywhere near as impressive as it once was. But the most damning and the most horrific part of this entire firmware debacle that we've been dealing with on the Samsung S95B from literally the start of these updates has been the reduction of the color, particularly how vibrant the quantum dots get and look. It is so bad to the point where it feels genuinely like an entirely different television. It doesn't feel like what you paid for. It feels like what you would have maybe taken a step down to, maybe bought like a sub-tier model. It doesn't feel like the grand premium experience that just leaves you breathless and in shock and awe. And this is the most irritating thing, vexing thing on the planet because it was there and they took that away. Now you would think also, hey, well, you know what, if I don't like it, I can always roll back the firmware. Wrong again. For any and everyone who has ever done firmware, typically they are non-negotiable. Now, the reason they are non-negotiable is because, again, they're not actually helping you or doing anything for you. It's just, again, them being them. Now, I'm going to open up my settings here, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about, okay? So if you go to support, you go to update, it says current version and new version. Now, I haven't updated myself. I refuse to do the update, but the current version still sits at 1602. If you look down here, auto updates are off. So then how then did it get my TV to do the latest firmware update? Simply put, just going online to access the smart features. That is all you have to do. This is why I tell everyone, never, ever, ever put your TV online. I understand the ease and the convenience of wanting to hit Disney Plus or any of the streaming apps and just stream from your television. If you do this, you are screwing yourself royally because these manufacturers have a quota to fill for the next television and they want you to believe that your TV is crappy, and the only way to do that is to push out a so-called firmware update that improves the picture, quotation marks. Now, here's how they get away with this. An improvement is a very broad, very general statement, and it is open to interpretation, right? They can believe that lowering the saturation and the brightness is an improvement for the picture and try to use claims such as accuracy or industry standards or what professionals want to see to justify what they've done to your product. However, us everyday folk that, again, bought the product and loved what we saw would see that it's not an improvement. But they can get away with it because, again, the interpretation is open to your perception of it and theirs, right? The other aspect of this that really sucks is you would think that they would fix pre-existing issues. And to illustrate this, okay, I have been complaining about this since the absolute day one experience on the Samsung S95B, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about, okay? So when you open up your picture settings, there is a major issue to where color space is just broken. Now, under the color space tab, at a glance, you'll notice certain things. The first thing you'll notice in the color space tab is native, obviously normal, and auto. But the most broken, and still today broken, is custom. It crushes out all of the information, all of the detail. The colors become literally quite literally broken with what's called posterization. Now, if you remember in my last video, I did like a lingo video kind of helping you through that. So if any of these terms are unfamiliar for you, definitely give that video a watch or a view or whatever the case may be. But if you look here, you can see strong posterization. Also, it can be noticed in the water as well. Oh, but don't worry, I'll keep going. The strongest example of posterization can be seen in this, where you see all of the flames in the background. It is just a posterization nightmare. The amount of posterization in this is so huge to the point where it is a broken, unwatchable picture. What's the fix then? Don't use custom, throwing away your ability to accurately calibrate this display. Now, what does that mean? That means that any attempts to so-called improve this television isn't improving anything. Because this is an issue I have addressed on numerous occasions, on numerous firmware, time after time after time, and it is still here. But magically, my colors are less saturated and my brightness is dimmer. This is the result of trying to sell a new model, not trying to fix something that could have been fixed, a known issue, right? The same thing can be said when you do the smart calibration feature. So the incentive then kind of changes away from running to buy a Samsung television when you see certain things like this. Trust me, I can understand, because again, you go to native, it's not as broken, but again, the colors just lack that kick that they once had. It used to be in a tier and a class all on its own, and now it's just a TV. And I think that's really sad considering where it was. Now, when you look at the, again, issue that we have here, I don't think there'd probably be a better example of this, of the posterization that you are going to run into, than again showing you this. I'm showing you this ad nauseum to just give you an idea of how wildly broken the S95B custom color space is for calibration. Now I'm going to show you it with something in motion like this example here, and you can notice the skies comparatively to how they should be, all the information just crushed out and full of this disgusting, awful image. And again, this showing you, it's a broken image, right? An amazing amount of posterization right now. Like, that's all the image is right now in this example. Why isn't this fixed? That's my biggest gripe. And maybe this is turning more into a rant video, but this is also like a PSA and an informational. Now, let's be very clear here. Still to this day, quantum dot technology, particularly when compared, or rather paired with OLED, is still the most supremo technology money can buy today for televisions. That's just a fact. However, there is an undeniable fact that what Samsung is doing is not an update. And I can prove it, and I have. And I'm showing that it's not updating or improving anything picture quality wise that we want to see. And in fact, there are known issues that go completely ignored. Motion has gotten worse. I've shown that off numerous occasions. And there's just no redemption in sight to want to do their firmware updates. So when I make videos and I tell you, stop going online, stop putting your TVs on the latest firmware thinking that they're updates. I mean, you have to listen to this good advice for you, because I loved my Samsung S95B day one more than pretty much any other television I'd ever seen in my entire life. And I am very sore and sour about the fact that Samsung can go in and decide to update something I said don't update. Just simply because you have my Wi-Fi information, that does not give you permission to start making changes on a product that I purchased. If you feel the same way, smack a like on this video, subscribe for more information like this, and for the love of God, please keep your TVs offline, because it does not improve anything. It is, in fact, making it worse. As you're clearly seeing, known issues go completely, wildly ignored. Again, I have said this 1,000 times, and I will keep saying it, but again, that is the biggest issue that I see here. Now, on a side note, I also want to point out something else. Samsung is getting ready to launch their new line of QLED televisions. I am not impressed by anti-glare technology. I know it might have shocked everybody, and they might be impressed by a matte finish screen, but for crying out loud, it's a matte finish screen, and if you know anything about what matte does when light hits it, it disperses light. It's not going to show reflections. That is common sense, and at that point, I am not impressed by an OLED that's a matte finish screen. By that logic, we can make every single OLED matte finish, and then it would do great in rooms with bright windows. They need to stop playing games with me and with all of us. At the end of the day, that isn't going to do it. Now, everybody is also excited about the 3000 nits that they are bragging and boasting about, to which, again, I will remind everybody, no one is having a conversation about any improved burn-in measures, but the fear still remains for a lot of people. No one is talking about any kind of improved heat sink technology while we're getting to record-breaking brightness. that is still a concern. No one's talking about what we're doing as far as this so-called advanced color. We're not going in depth into a lot of the key things. The biggest thing of all being motion. What are we doing to improve motion year after year? Not a single company across the board, regardless of manufacturers, touch this topic. And above all else, not a single manufacturer is giving you the option to roll back firmware updates. So until they start giving you that option, do not update your television. Keep it offline. Use an Xbox, a PlayStation, a Blu-ray player, a Fire Stick, Apple TV. I do not care. Something else that if it updates, it's not detrimental to the product that you paid for if you like the performance out of the box. Now, if you get a television and it's just wonky, don't update that. Okay? Or rather, do update it because you hate the performance, and what have you got to lose at that point, right? In which case, I would probably recommend just returning the thing altogether. Okay? But in examples where you love your TV and they mess it up because of an update, that's something else entirely. So again, I understand this one's a little bit more on the ranty side of things, but I really loved my S95B. So for all you guys and gals out there that believed that Samsung put me up to talking positively about their company or about their products for years, well, you're going to enjoy this one, and good luck explaining this to your logic. Because at the end of the day, we don't play favorites, and when a company messes up, it needs to be addressed and talked about. And everyone is so quick to say there are improvements and upgrades, and it makes it accurate because YouTube is all about selling positivity to hopeful customers. I am not that guy. I will tell you when they mess something up, and I will tell you ad nauseum, and I will really beat a dead horse because I don't like it. But that being said, let me know what you think about this whole update nonsense for the Samsung S95B, and what do you think about Samsung doing this in general, and are you worried about the future products that are going to launch? Thanks for watching the #1 brand in honesty, and until the next video, I'll see you guys later.